Hi there. The previous video, the tribute to Marcus, has received the highest viewing figures of anything I've ever done, and is a fitting tribute to the esteem he was held in. So I thought I'd put a few more thoughts online. I've been getting lots and lots of messages from all over the world, people sharing the sense of loss and also the various interactions they had with Marcus and how he has influenced them. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit more in this one. So Marcus's heritage background was from Wales and the Philippines, a grim, hostile place full of people talking incomprehensible language. But the Philippines is very nice. Anyway, his Filipino grandfather showed him the knife arts of the Philippines, Kali, Eskrima, and so on. And he took to them to a very high degree. And I remember him showing me a knife drill from the Leo Garhe system, which I still use and still teach now. Only a short little drill, but the fluency and the speed of his technique were impressive. But the most impressive thing was the mental state of the knife fighter that he accessed and demonstrated. And to me, it was the most clear demonstration of state change, and it really informed my knowledge of that subject. So he was involved in other martial arts. He had studied a form of Kempo, which originated with Albert Emperado from the Hawaiian Islands. And he's an instructor you should look up. A very, very interesting chap. And Marcus had a lot of stories about him. He also wrote for Black Belt magazine at some stage as well. He served in the 82nd Airborne, rising to the rank of sergeant, including service overseas in Korea. And he again was impressed by the Korean martial arts. And one of the few pictures that he had on the wall of his apartment was of his team in Korea, all cammed up and ready to go. Now, he was married, to my knowledge, twice, and I think 3 times. He'd had an alien marriage. I met 2 of his wives, Liz and Caprice, and they were both very nice ladies, and I got on with them. But an old military buddy of his once said, "Marcus, you have some alarming tendencies." He said, "You are attracted to strong-willed, highly confident women." He said, "You then teach them a variety of lethal skills. You then proceed to piss them off." And he ended up getting divorced twice as a result of this. But he was very, very personable, and I can remember after the 2006 International, I'd taken him over to Manchester for his flight out, but he was staying overnight. We put him up in a hotel over there, and there was quite a few of us in the hotel. We had like a farewell brew with him, and at this time he was physically at a fairly bad time. He was recovering from cancer. He wasn't the same full of life guy that he had been, but he was back in the training arena anyway. So we got into a lift in the hotel and to go up, and it stopped, and there was a conference of some sort, and a group of ladies at the conference got in the lift, and between that floor and the 4th floor we were going to, they were all over Marcus. He only smiled at them, and they were around him like a flock of birds. It was amazing to see. His personality really attracted people. For a time in Minneapolis, he lived in a place called Linden Hills, which is a really nice area, full of coffee bars and so on. Sebastian Joe's, Turtle Bread Company and so on. And it's right by Lake Harriet, and in the summer and spring it's absolutely beautiful. And we had many good times there. And the opening chapter of Brothers in Arms, where two operators are sitting each at a cafe on opposite sides of the road in Linden Hills, was inspired by a brew we had. There was Marcus, Scotty, his old partner from the fam, and myself, and we're all sitting there. We're all in our Banana Republic vests, all carrying firearms, and Marcus laughed and he said, "The people here don't know what's amongst them." And that was the inspiration for that chapter, sort of operators blending in and having a brew and things happen around them. Out of all the things that I remember about Marcus, one of the things I remember most is how much we laughed. We were always laughing about different things, whether we were sitting with Nick Hughes and Slacky watching Blackadder or whatever. And particularly after he presented the Mind's Eye program in Sweden, we had a meal together in a rather nice restaurant, and there was Marcus, there was Richard, there was Mika, rest in peace, and there was Jim Collier from Germany. And we're telling stories and saying things, and we weren't being raucous, but we were laughing. And I looked around and I realised nobody else in the restaurant was laughing at anything. They're all rather serious, and we were having such a good time. And I do treasure that memory and memories like it. And at that shooting event, there was a gathering of really expert people. And one of the things that Marcus was asked a question, and he demonstrated. Somebody said, "What would you teach a shooter, a new shooter?" And he pulled out Jim, who wasn't a new shooter, but just as a model. And he gave a little 5-minute presentation and put Jim in different positions and so on, and did things. A little dry drill of only about 5 minutes of essentials of how he would start someone shooting. And it was an absolute gem. And to my regret, I didn't video it. I was watching it, but I didn't video it because I didn't know what he was going to do. And it was amazing. And it really encapsulated the neural-based training that he did. And the really one of the origins of that, he worked with a female shooter called Rosie. She worked for the FAA. And she came on our course in Ohio, Dayton, Ohio. She lived in Minneapolis. And Marcus coached her for, I think, 4 hours. And then she came on the course and took her place amongst SWAT team members and professional bodyguards, and finished in the top third of the class. And I remember one drill in particular where her and one of the SWAT guys were shooting shoulder to shoulder on a drill, and he had a stoppage, and Rosie just seamlessly flowed, and it was amazing. And no one could believe she'd only had 4 hours previous coaching. And that was really the inspiration for what became the Nikita program, which Marcus developed and then later presented widely. And one of the keys to that was in South Africa in '97. And Marcus came over, and I was scheduled to teach a women's self-protection class, and it was going to be unarmed, firearms and knife. for a group of women who, most of them had no training at all. And Marcus suggested that he teach it, and I'd then see this program that he developed, and always eager to learn. I said, fine, yeah, okay. And he taught the firearms section, and now some of it was based on stuff he picked up in Liverpool in '96 when we were doing wax bullet drills. I'd done a lot of stuff with wax bullets, revolvers, firing. It's actually plasticine, and you can do man on man very, very well. Marcus really took to this. And he took that idea and he incorporated it into this. Now, it was just a short introduction to firearms. It starts off dry. It starts off actually empty hand, then dry, and so on. But within a few minutes, less than 15 minutes for sure, each woman had been faced by a male aggressive adversary and had shot him with a live weapon, firing plasticine, and had a successful outcome and was able to control the situation. And what Marcus did very, very cleverly, instead of having the plasticine drills, the scenario work at the end of a shooting process where you go through all the normal stuff, he put it at the beginning and created an experience and gave people the desire to learn all the rest of the stuff, which was groundbreaking. And I came up with the name Nikita program, talking about it, because we both enjoyed the original La Femme Nikita. And I presented it, and I presented a version here in the UK, the Valkyrie program. We don't use firearms, obviously, but it's all based on his original work, which was amazing. And he did a lot with the women, because if it works for the women, it's going to work for the men. You know, and that's a good principle to follow. So I think it's significant that many of the people who found Marcus's work of great value were themselves top performers and top operators and top instructors in their fields, whether they're in the police, the military, or sporting competition or whatever. A lot of the people who are sending tributes in, and a lot of people who trained with them in the past, were themselves really noted instructors in their own right, and found that the stuff that Marcus was coming up with really gave them something else, another handrail into the system. He himself didn't really embrace all the trappings of being an instructor. He kind of more thought himself as a mentor or a guide and this kind of thing, which was a nice attitude to have. And as I say, I'm getting all these messages, there's a lot of stuff on the forum, and it's been good thinking about how much Marcus meant to so many people, because he meant so much to me and influenced my training and my career enormously. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I plan to put a little thing on tomorrow, which is Marcus himself talking about something. I'll just get that ready. But for now, have a good thought about him.